Alright, what's up everybody? Today I want to talk a little bit about team setups. I touched upon the topic in previous videos as well, but I'm currently at a point where I'm starting to really break with the new account to break through a lot of the ceilings that I had before. One of them is obviously Dragon 20, which I talked about a lot because I had my Banshee that I really just geared only for a Dragon to finally be able to reliably farm the 20 level and get the 5-star and 6-star equipment. But the same is also true when we're talking about the potion keeps. Some of them I'm finally hitting the highest one, which obviously makes it so much easier to get your potions so that you can ascend your champions. And since I'm still in that point where I don't have that many champions to work with and where I really need to be careful, I don't have, for example, all items on 16 yet. I'm just lacking the silver. I'm lacking books to fully get the cooldown reduction on my skills. And for all of those reasons, it's really important that you tweak around with the team setup. And this is something I want to go over in a little bit more detail today. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. So I'm basically using team setups for most of the dungeons where I'm still struggling a bit. Later on, it's not as important anymore. It will still be important for clan boss and for certain specific teams that you only design for one job. But right now, it helps me to break through certain ceilings. And you can, for example, see that my best time here is pretty high, but I can finally reliably farm the arcane keep, and this makes it just so much easier to get your superior arcane potions. You don't have to deal with the lowest quality anymore, and I'll show you real quickly how exactly I'm going to do that, because the champions that I have are still very limited, and I still need to make sure that I somehow break through this and make this a reliable process where I don't just lose tons of energy, and this might be something that helps you as well. So when I'm going over to the team setup, I'll give you a closer look at what exactly I'm doing here. The reason that I have Michelangelo in the number 1 slot is for his aura. I really need the accuracy, and this is something that I don't get from any other champion right now, with the exception of Banshee, who just doesn't do too much here. But what I'm, for example, doing with the Shell Cyclone, the most important part here is really the decreased attack. And I have two different problems initially with the keep. So the first one is obviously I need to survive through the waves. And the second is I need to survive through the start of facing the boss, because if he starts to one-shot one of my champions, I drop down to 4, then it becomes really tricky for me to survive through all of it. So one example of how you can use the team setup in order to get through that is that right here I use Shell Cyclone as an opener in round 1, and then I don't use it anymore. The reason why I don't use it is just simply that I want to make sure I have the cooldown ready when we're going into round number 2, and here I do the same thing. With the speed advantage that I have over these wave minions, I will mostly get through the wave before the debuff, when it gets applied, drops actually off, so I don't necessarily need to reapply it again. Now, if I had the speed, and if I had him on 60, if I had a much stronger lineup, I wouldn't have to go through those cute little plays here, and I could just say like, hey, fire away. But in this case, it's actually pretty important for me that also in the last round, I'm opening up again with Shell Cyclone. So the whole idea here is to try and take advantage of the decreased attack. Now obviously there's a bit of a problem with this too. It's only a 75% chance, and that is a bit of an issue, but yeah, we'll see. At this point we have also Alice. With Alice, I have made a couple of adjustments, and again, it's all about wave control right now. So opener, and we don't use the Clockwork Cyclone. The reason why I do is because I want to put as many of the skills of the wave onto cooldown. And the same process also here, with a little exception that on level 2 I already don't care anymore about whether or not she uses it multiple times, but it has to be the opener spell from Alice, just simply because I need to control that wave as best as I can. I also put Gorm now into the rotation again, and the reason that he's actually in there is because I get the extra stun. So he has not only the turn meter and the healing, but we also get the stun, and that helps me to control the wave even more. It's one of the reasons why the runs take a little bit longer, because I'm not necessarily looking for damage in all of those champions. I'm looking to control the wave. I have a decreased attack, I put the cooldowns or the skills on cooldown, I have a stun that is coming in as well, which is kind of important here. I could also tweak a little bit around Duedan here and, for example, try and control the shield a little bit more. but in this case, not really doing that. The one other champion where I still go for a little bit of skill control with the setup is with Ugo, because I want to make sure that he also puts the decreased attack in and the block buffs, so I'm using that on both of the waves immediately. And that's pretty much a setup right here. So just to showcase a little bit on how exactly that works, let's go for a run, and then you'll see in action how this entire team setup works. Obviously, depending on the champions that you have, you will have to adjust it for your own needs, but I think we haven't really talked about team setups in detail in the past to that extent. So this is a bit of an example of how you can break through one of those ceilings and reliably farm a high level that you really need. Because if I drop that and I do this just without a team setup, I will start losing champions at the latest on wave 2, and then the entire run falls apart. So this is a really good example of where just the tweaking with the team setup helps me to go from a fail in essentially every single wave to a successful 100% clear on the keep. Alright, so in action. So you can already see here, we're not starting with a stun on him, but we have now the decreased attack on 3 of the champions already, so that helps me with survivability a little bit. We're getting some extra stuns in, we have the cooldown that we're getting, and the progress is going to be a little bit low here. Now, having also the lead on Michelangelo, he is going to be attacked a lot. He's obviously, for a lot of those guys, also weak affinity, which is another pretty impactful position for him. But he has his passive that helps him to survive as well. He gets his shield, he gets an additional shield from Duedan, so a lot of survivability here. But you can see that the attack is actually going pretty well. So the first 2 are already down, and if you look towards the middle, we still are in a situation where the decreased attack hasn't even fallen off yet. So when it gets applied, I don't need to reapply it again in order to get the effect here, simply because my champions are faster, particularly also since Gorm is giving me the extra speed boost. So this is actually working quite nicely. And obviously towards the end, then it might sometimes get a little bit trickier. There is not really any one-shot potential here, but on wave 2 it sometimes can get a bit dicey. You have to keep in mind that a lot of these guys are also just simply level 50, so once that I'm in a spot where I can upgrade them to 60, equip them with banners, then things are gonna run way smoother. But right now it is actually very close here. So in this case I'm getting at least 3 decreased attack. I have once again some stuns coming in through Gorm, with Alice is working quite nicely too, and the entire situation is just playing out very similar to what we already had in wave number 1. And the entire idea is really just to not lose Michelangelo here at the front. But we got the heals not only from Gorm, we got them from Ugo, and of course that shield and also the taunt that we're now getting. So this is actually helping quite a lot. And yeah, this is going quite nicely. I have experimented a little bit also with Banshee. I think I can swap some of the other heroes in and out, but the one thing that really was kind of important when I tried to play this out was that I get as much wave control as possible. I had a couple of alternative setups where I had a bit more damage and I had a reduced runtime, but I didn't get 100% on the clear because every now and then a run would fail. And then switching in Gorm, for example, for that extra stun that he provides and the speed and the survivability, that really made it a 100% clear rate. Now heading into the boss, once again, it's obviously important to get the decreased attack in. In this case, it applies, so this is already a successful run right from the get-go. It's not really a big problem when it doesn't get applied. You can still survive through everything. It hurts a little bit more. Worst case scenario, one of the champion falls, but the run usually completes, at least for me. But this is just a perfect example how team setups can really make or break a certain level in a dungeon for you. Now, late game accounts obviously don't have any issues with the Arcane Keep. You can just speed run them fairly easily. But in this case, this is an absolute game changer for this account. Again, the account is now roughly 2 months old, and now I can break through the level 20, which allows me to get just the superior arcane potions whenever I need them. I have also started to run a similar setup on some of the other potion camps, which works for me. I have done the dungeon level 20 now unlocked for my dragon farming, which is also quite nice, and all of this is just possible through the team setups. So that being added as a feature was actually a few years ago, but that changed a lot of things. And if you haven't used it yet, I would really highly recommend that you play around with it just a little bit. You can also use it for campaign farming, for example. Depends a little bit on who exactly you're using there as your campaign farmer right now. I would assume that most people with a relative new account don't have a dedicated farmer for that level, but you can definitely try and utilize it there as well. But in my case here, as you can see, this has been a huge boon to my account. So now getting those ascension levels is just a matter of getting the energy for it, and not really a proper, like the RNG is just reduced a bit. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to what we're getting here, I'm still more likely to get a brew than a superior arcane potion, but that's just the name of the game. But at least I can now reliably finish this one out, and very, very happy that I'm finally in that spot, because this is accelerating the account progress a lot. So, yeah, a little bit of a showcase. Again, I hope that this helps some of you that you might have not used team setups to that extent yet, that it gives you a bit of an idea of how you can run your own. As usual, if you have any questions about this, if you have any concerns, just pop them into the comments, write them down there, and I will make sure that I answer everything that drops in down there. With that, thanks a lot for watching today, and I'm gonna see you soon in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.